Welcome to another episode of the Midnight Investigator, where we take another alternative look at moments in history. They call her the Babushka Lady, not because anyone knows who she is, but because of the headscarf. A simple piece of cloth, tied under the chin. It is a nickname. Babushka is a Russian word that can mean grandmother. People also use it to describe the old-style headscarf worn by women in Russia and Eastern Europe, like a peasant's scarf tied under the chin. So when investigators and researchers saw a woman in Dealey Plaza wearing that kind of headscarf, they started calling her the Babushka Lady. It does not mean she was Russian. It only means she looked like she was wearing that traditional scarf. That's all it took to give her a name that would echo for decades. Now, President John F. Kennedy is in office for a short time, but his profile is enormous. He is admired, he is criticized, and by 1963 he has real supporters and real enemies. That matters because it explains why this case never settles down. It's a story with so much heat around it that every detail, every shadow, becomes part of a larger puzzle. And at the center of one of the most enduring mysteries is the Babushka Lady. On November 22, 1963, the presidential motorcade moves through Dallas, Texas. The sun is out. People are waving. It's a classic American scene. Parts of the route are packed with people, shoulder to shoulder. Everyone has turned out to see the president. Then the cars turn into Dealey Plaza, and in some of the footage, the crowd can look thinner. That contrast has always felt suspicious to some. It looks like the stage has been cleared. But Dealey Plaza is an open space, a wide grassy area. People naturally spread out. The camera angle, the specific lens used, can make it look emptier than it really was. So we note it, but we don't treat it as proof of a setup. It's just a detail, one of many. And then we lock onto the key figure. In Dealey Plaza, she is there as the motorcade passes. She is standing on the grass between Elm Street and Main Street, close enough to the action to be caught on multiple films. And in those films, she appears to be holding a camera to her face. That single detail matters more than anything else. Because if she really filmed what happened in those next few seconds, she may have captured one of the most important pieces of footage ever taken in public. A clear, ground-level view of an event that changed history. But this is Midnight Investigator. So we don't start with theories. We don't jump to conclusions. We start with what can be shown. We look for anchors in a sea of speculation. The first anchor is simple. She existed. She is visible in the major assassination films, including the famous Zapruder film. She also appears in other footage from Dealey Plaza, like the films of Orville Nix and Marie Muckmore. So she is not a rumor. She is not a ghost story. She is on film, a tangible presence in the historical record. And there's another detail people often mention, something that adds to her mystique. In some of the film sequences, as the shots ring out and chaos erupts, she looks as if she keeps the camera up to her face. Others duck, they run, they turn in confusion. But she seems to hold her ground, still filming. Even as the scene turns to panic and confusion, she appears unnaturally calm, focused on her task. And it's this that creates the conspiracy. Was she a part of all what was happening? Then she simply moves. After the shots, after the presidential limousine speeds away toward the underpass, she is seen walking away calmly. Accounts from eyewitnesses and interpretations of the films commonly describe her crossing Elm Street and moving with the crowd toward the grassy knoll, that small hill that has become a landmark of conspiracy. Other descriptions place her last seen walking east on Elm Street. But after that, she disappears. She vanishes into the crowd, just like everyone else who was there that day. So here's the key question, the one that has fueled this mystery for over half a century. If she filmed the assassination from that unique vantage point, where is the film? Because investigators did go looking for it. They spoke to a large number of witnesses from Dealey Plaza and gathered a huge amount of material, including films and photographs. But one figure on the footage never becomes a confirmed identity. The woman in the headscarf. And no verified film from her camera has ever been found. As soon as the importance of eyewitness footage became clear, the FBI wanted to identify the woman with the headscarf and locate any film she might have taken. The logic was straightforward. If someone filmed the assassination from that position, the Bureau needed that film. It could confirm the number of shots, the direction they came from, the reaction of everyone in the car. It could be the missing piece. The problem is, the woman on the footage never steps forward in a way that closes the file. She never hands over a film that gets entered into evidence. She remains a silhouette. As the value of eyewitness footage became clear, the FBI worked to track down people who filmed in Dealey Plaza and to collect whatever they captured. But the woman in the headscarf was never confirmed as an identity, and no verified film from her camera has ever surfaced. Now, while all the day's events are unfolding, the official investigation narrows fast. Lee Harvey Oswald is arrested later that day. He is charged with the assassination. And then, before he can ever stand trial, before he can testify in court, he is shot dead on live television by a nightclub owner named Jack Ruby. So the central suspect never gets to tell his side of the story under oath. However, the night of Oswald's arrest, during a hallway press scrum at Dallas Police Headquarters around midnight, Oswald is heard saying, "I'm just a patsy." Basically, he's saying, "I'm being set up as the fall guy," which today fuels the modern conspiracy theories. Without a trial, there is no final legal verdict based on a full presentation of evidence. There's only a report. Now we step back and keep it tight. By 1963, Kennedy has controversy swirling around him. There are plenty of motive theories: his administration's fight against organized crime, the Bay of Pigs invasion and tensions with Fidel Castro, not to mention the Cuban Missile Crisis. So he's not without his political enemies, both foreign and domestic. Extremism on the far right and far left. But motive is not proof. The Warren Commission was set up by President Lyndon B. Johnson on the 29th of November 1963, just a week after the assassination, and it issued its final report on the 24th of September 1964. It concluded that Oswald acted alone. Years later, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, or HSCA, agreed that Oswald fired the fatal shots, but argued there was probably a conspiracy, and rather surprisingly suggested the possibility of involving a second gunman based on acoustic evidence. Now, that remains highly disputed to this day. So the case stays open in the public mind. Were there two shooters? Now we return to the woman with the camera. If her film existed, it is one of three things: missing, unknown, or unverified. And that is why the Babushka Lady matters. She represents a piece of evidence that could potentially answer some of the biggest questions, but it remains just out of reach. In 1979, the House Select Committee on Assassinations reviewed all the photographic evidence connected to Dealey Plaza. Their photographic evidence panel stated that they were unable to locate any film attributable to the Babushka Lady, but that isn't a startling revelation, so nothing new there. So we can narrow the possibilities. One possibility is that she had a camera, but for some reason did not capture anything usable, so simply didn't bother to come forward. But that wouldn't make sense. If you have been identified as a person of national interest, surely you would come forward to make an explanation, or at the very least verify yourself. Maybe the camera malfunctioned. Maybe she fumbled with it at the critical moment. But once again, that doesn't make sense. You would still come forward. Now, in reality, the FBI doesn't exactly go looking for the witnesses. They essentially are relying on people coming forward of their own merit. So that doesn't really help an investigation. So we come to another, more sinister possibility. Was she involved? Okay, so the House Select Committee on Assassinations, HSCA, concluded that acoustical evidence based upon a police radio recording indicated a high probability that two gunmen fired, and the committee therefore said Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. That conclusion is heavily contested, and later scientific review rejected the acoustics claim. So even though the official story splits, depending on which investigation you follow, you still have two schools of thought. However, if true, it suggests one thing. There's more than one person involved. And does that include our elusive Babushka Lady? It would certainly explain why that person didn't come forward. And then there is the story that keeps the legend alive. In 1970, a woman named Beverly Oliver came forward and claimed she was the Babushka Lady. It was a stunning claim. She said she was 17 at the time and had filmed the entire assassination with her Yashica Super 8 camera. She later claimed that the film was confiscated from her by men who identified themselves as FBI agents, and she never saw it again. That claim is now a core part of the mythology. It's dramatic, It's compelling. It explains the missing footage in one clean sentence. The government took it. So okay, let's see if this story has any tangible feasibility. We checked the details. Researchers have pointed out inconsistencies in her story. For example, the model of camera she named wasn't even manufactured until years after 1963, so straight away we have a discrepancy. And at 17, she looked very different from the figure seen in the films, who appears to be a heavier-set, middle-aged woman, so I think we can rule that claim out. So at the end of the day, we are still left with a mystery, and I'm afraid this one will never come to light any day soon. One thing is for certain. During the shooting, our mysterious lady is simply standing there, unfazed, unconcerned, and what appears to be a camera in her hand. Everyone around her is taking cover, running away, trying to hide. Everyone, that is, apart from her. The Babushka Lady. And that is where we leave it. Not with certainty. Not with an easy answer, but with a question. A question that hangs over Dealey Plaza like a shadow to this very day. Thanks for watching Midnight Investigator. If you find these unsolved cases as fascinating as we do, make sure to subscribe. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Thank you for watching. And, in the meantime, question everything. Don't let someone else do your thinking.